we're living in the best time in history, but no one asks why it still feels so empty.
Imagine walking into a supermarket. You're surrounded by hundreds of cereal boxes, chocolate-flavored, gluten-free, organic, sugar-loaded, oat-based, keto-approved. At first glance, it feels empowering. So many choices, so much freedom. But pause for a second. Who decided these were the cereals you could choose from in the first place? You didn't grow the grains. You didn't design the packaging. You didn't even question whether cereal was the best way to start your day. You just walked in and chose from what was already selected for you. This is the modern illusion of freedom. We're told we live in a world of endless possibility, that we can be anyone, do anything, live however we choose. But in reality, the freedom we're sold is more like a children's menu, colorful, limited, and pre-approved. Take a step back, and you'll start to notice it everywhere. Your career? You're free to choose. Between options, the system has deemed profitable. Want to be a poet? Sure. But can you survive without monetizing your art? The system whispers, be who you want, but only if it's economically viable. Even your opinions are shaped within invisible walls. Yes, you can say whatever you want until it makes others uncomfortable, until it questions the structure itself. The Overton window, the range of acceptable ideas, is narrow, but it's decorated so beautifully, you never realize you're boxed in. We confuse variety with freedom. But freedom isn't having 50 brands of toothpaste to choose from. It's having the power to question why toothpaste has become a billion-dollar industry in the first place. It's the freedom to ask, is this choice even necessary? Or is it just noise? Consumerism sells you freedom wrapped in packaging. You can pick your clothes, your coffee, your phone wallpaper, but try stepping outside the unspoken rules of success, beauty, or productivity, and watch how quickly that freedom vanishes. The system smiles while handing you 1,000 flavors of the same idea. Conform, but feel like you're choosing. Think about social media. It promises you a platform, a voice, a digital stage to express yourself. But that voice is guided by algorithms that reward conformity, outrage, and superficiality. Say something real, and you might get buried. Post something trendy, and you might go viral. It's not expression, it's performance. Even rebellion is packaged now. Want to feel like a nonconformist? Great, there's a brand for that. There's a hoodie, a playlist, an aesthetic, and a hashtag. Modern rebellion often looks more like a marketing campaign than a movement. And here lies the most dangerous part of the illusion. You feel like you're free. You walk through life feeling like you're in control, never realizing the lanes were drawn long before you arrived. The illusion works so well because it rewards you just enough. Just enough dopamine, just enough success, just enough applause to keep you from asking, wait, is this really freedom? True freedom isn't about infinite options within a limited box. It's about seeing the box. It's about stepping outside of default modes and asking, why do I want what I want? Who benefits from my choices? That moment, when you start to question, really question, is when the spell starts to break. Because the greatest deception of modern society isn't control through force, it's control through illusion. Through the comforting lie that you are already free. But real freedom? That begins only when you stop mistaking the menu for the meal. Picture this. You wake up, check your phone, scroll past a motivational quote. You have the same 24 hours as Elon Musk. Suddenly your mind starts racing. Emails to reply to, tasks to check off, goals to chase. You feel behind, even before brushing your teeth. Welcome to the productivity trap, a world where busyness has become a badge of honor, and your value is measured not by who you are, but by what you produce. Society applauds the grinders, the hustlers, the ones who never stop. We romanticize burnout and glorify sleep deprivation. We chase milestones not because they fulfill us, but because we're terrified of falling behind. The message is clear. Your worth is tied to your output. But who decided that? Since childhood, we've been conditioned to chase gold stars, good grades, promotions, likes, shares. We internalized a dangerous equation. More doing equals more value. And over time, it became our reality. Not because it's true, but because it's repeated so often that we stop questioning it. And here's the twist. The system is designed this way. The more insecure you feel, the more productive you try to be. You buy planners, apps, and online courses. You hustle harder, thinking one more achievement will finally bring peace. But peace never comes, because the bar keeps moving. It's a treadmill with no off switch. Even leisure has been hijacked. Reading a book? Better make it self-help. Going for a walk? Track your steps. Doing nothing? That's laziness, unless you can rebrand it as mindful recovery. We've forgotten how to exist without a purpose, without an agenda, just exist. But the truth is, you are not a machine. You were never meant to operate at maximum efficiency every hour of every day. Nature doesn't bloom all year long. Why should you? Productivity culture masks itself as empowerment. But in reality, it often reinforces a quiet slavery, one where you willingly chain yourself to tasks, convinced you're free, where rest becomes guilt, and stillness feels like failure. This isn't just a mental trap, it's a psychological identity crisis. We're not addicted to work, we're addicted to being seen as useful, to being validated. But if your entire identity is built on being productive, what happens when you stop? Who are you when you're not doing? Here's a radical thought. You are already enough. Even when you do nothing, even when you're still, you don't have to earn rest. You don't have to justify being. Existence is not a performance. You are not here to meet a quota. The most revolutionary act in a world addicted to hustle might just be doing nothing on purpose. So the next time your mind whispers, "You're not doing enough," answer it gently. Maybe I'm doing exactly what I need to, because freedom isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet moment when you realize you've stepped off the treadmill and the world didn't end. Who are you? It's a simple question, but try to answer it and watch how quickly your mind reaches for labels. I'm a student. I'm a manager. I'm a mother. I'm creative. I'm introverted. I'm ambitious. We speak in titles, roles, and traits as if they fully define us. But where did these identities come from? Did we choose them? Or were they handed to us like uniforms on the first day of school? From the moment you're born, the world starts shaping your sense of self. Your gender is assigned. Your culture is stamped onto you. Your name is whispered over and over until you internalize it as me. You learn what's praised, what's punished, what gets love, and you adjust accordingly. You become what's accepted: a good child, a smart student, a hard worker. Little by little, the real you is traded for something safer, more palatable, a version of you that fits neatly into a world that doesn't like mess or mystery. But here's the thing. Identity isn't discovered, it's constructed. And modern society has become a master architect. Social media, education systems, advertising, they don't just reflect who you are, they tell you who you should be. You scroll past filtered faces and curated lifestyles, and somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice asks, "Should I look like that too?" You wear clothes, not just to stay warm, but to say something about yourself. You buy a phone, a car, a coffee brand, not just for function, but for identity. You speak a certain way, follow trends, and post updates, because, whether you realize it or not, you're constantly announcing, "This is who I am. Please believe me." It's not your fault. We all do it, because we've been conditioned to think of identity as a product. something that must be marketed, polished, and liked. In a world driven by algorithms, your sense of self becomes content. Every photo, every status, every story is part of the performance. You're not just living, you're curating a narrative. But what happens when the performance becomes the reality? What happens when you've played the role so well, for so long, that you forget who you were before the script, before the mask? Here's the unsettling truth. Most people never meet their true self. They live and die inside roles crafted for survival, not authenticity. They confuse who they are with what they've been told to be. But every now and then, maybe during a moment of solitude, maybe in the middle of a breakdown, the mask slips. You catch a glimpse of something raw, something unpolished, a version of you that doesn't need to impress or prove. That's the real you, the one beneath the noise. It doesn't mean you must reject every role you've taken on. Some identities serve a purpose, but when they start to cage you, when they silence your deeper questions, that's when it's time to ask, who am I without all this? Try this. Sit in silence. No music, no phone, no distractions, just you. Ask, if no one was watching, what would I still care about? What would I still love? What would I stop doing? That's where your real identity lives. Not in your job title, not in your bio, but in the quiet knowing that you're more than the roles you play. You were never meant to be a brand. You were meant to be a human. And the most liberating journey you'll ever take is the one back to yourself. We love comfort, the soft bed, the hot shower, the instant food, the one-click delivery. A world where you barely need to move, wait, or wonder. And why wouldn't we love it? Comfort feels good, safe, familiar. But beneath its warm blanket lies a cold truth. Comfort can be a cage. Because comfort isn't neutral. It shapes us. It dulls our edges. And when overindulged, it begins to numb the very instincts that lead to growth. Take a look around. Every innovation is designed to reduce effort. Why walk when you can ride? Why cook when you can order? Why talk when you can scroll? In the name of efficiency, we've traded friction for fluidity. But friction is where change happens. It's where muscles grow, minds stretch, and identities evolve. The illusion of comfort tells us we're thriving, while we're actually just surviving in a padded room. Everything is made easy, except the things that really matter. Growth still hurts. Truth still stings. Real connection still takes effort. But when you've been fed dopamine on demand, even slight discomfort feels like pain. We lose our tolerance for silence, for challenge, for boredom. And in doing so, we lose the ability to sit with life, to wrestle with it, question it, reshape it. Comfort doesn't just protect us from danger, it protects us from awareness. Why reflect when you can binge? Why confront your emotions when you can numb them with noise? Why risk the unknown when the known is so comfortable? That's the real danger. Not that comfort makes us lazy, but that it makes us content with less than we're capable of. You stop dreaming, not because you don't want more, but because what you have is good enough. You stop fighting, not because you've won, but because the couch is too soft and the screen too bright. And here's the scary part. The system knows this. A comfortable population is a controllable one. When people are fed, entertained, and distracted, they're less likely to question, to resist, to wake up. Comfort pacifies rebellion. It smooths the rough edges of society into a quiet hum. So no, comfort isn't evil. But unquestioned comfort, that's a slow anesthetic. It lulls you to sleep while life passes by just outside your window. The antidote? Choose discomfort. Not recklessly, but deliberately. Do hard things, not for the result, but for the reminder that you can. Sit with boredom, question convenience, break the loop. Because real life, the raw, vibrant, unpredictable kind, lives just beyond the edge of comfort. And maybe, just maybe, the life you're truly meant for is hiding in the place you've been avoiding the most. At some point, in the midst of all the noise, the screens, the opinions, the goals, the roles, you begin to feel it. A strange emptiness, not loud, not dramatic, just subtle, like a room that used to be filled with music but now echoes with silence. It creeps in during quiet moments, when you're driving alone, when the movie ends, when you're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, and the distractions finally go still. That's when it whispers, "Is this really me?" Because somewhere along the way, you forgot. You forgot who you were before the world told you who to be, before the schedules, the labels, the identities took over, before success became urgent and authenticity became optional. This is the tragedy of the modern mind. We know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. We can name celebrities, stocks, trends, but struggle to name our own needs. We live in a world of hyperconnectivity, and yet we feel deeply alone with ourselves. Why? Because we've abandoned the self, the real one, the one behind the masks, the child who once stared at clouds, got lost in drawings, asked questions just for wonder's sake. The version of you that existed before the algorithms, before the applause, before the world taught you to perform. And the worst part, we didn't even notice it slipping away. Modern society doesn't demand that you forget yourself. It simply keeps you too busy to remember. From the moment you wake up, you're plugged in. The calendar tells you who you are today. The phone tells you what matters. And the world applauds the version of you that's most useful to it, not necessarily the version that's most you. But here's the truth that no one profits from telling you. You are not your productivity. You are not your opinions. You are not your profile. You are something far deeper, a living, breathing consciousness, with dreams that weren't sold to you and feelings that don't need to be filtered. And the way back is not through achievement, it's through attention. If this message resonates with you, consider subscribing to the channel. Here, we dig beneath the surface, beyond what you've been told, to uncover what truly matters. If you're on a journey back to yourself, you're not alone. Let's walk it together. Now back to your forgotten self. Reconnecting with it doesn't require a complete life change. It starts in small, defiant moments. Moments where you choose to sit in silence instead of reaching for distraction. Moments where you write, not to post, not to impress, but just to feel your own thoughts again. Moments where you say no, not because it's efficient, but because it's honest. And perhaps most powerfully, moments where you do nothing and realize that you are still worthy. Because the self doesn't shout, it whispers. And to hear it, you must slow down. Step off the stage, close the tabs, turn down the volume of the world so you can finally hear your own voice. And when you do, something miraculous happens. You remember what you love, not because it's trending, but because it lights something up inside you. You remember what you fear, not because someone told you to avoid it, but because it holds truth. You remember what matters, not for status, but for soul. You start asking deeper questions, not what should I do next, but who do I want to be when no one's watching? And in asking, you begin to reclaim your humanity. You begin to feel alive again, not just surviving, not just functioning, but being. And slowly, the illusion begins to fade. The stage freedom, the performance-based worth, the productivity trap, the curated identity, all of it loses its grip. You wake up, not just from sleep, but from the trance of a life you never truly chose. And in that waking, you become dangerous. Dangerous to systems that profit off your disconnection. Dangerous to narratives that depend on your obedience. Dangerous in the most beautiful way. Because a person who knows themselves cannot be controlled. They don't chase, they choose. This was the great deception of modern society. But now, you see it. And once you see it, You can never unsee it. Welcome back to yourself. We've missed you.